Okay, I think we can start. So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Conversations on Agroecology. On this conversation today, we will hear about rebuilding farmland biodiversity for productivity and resilience. I'm 𝗬𝗓 𝗙𝗵𝗃, and along with my colleague Carla Brites von INIAF, I'm pleased to moderate this conversation. I do present the Austrian Agency for Health and Food Safety, short AGES, and my colleague Dennis Bergamo will be handling the technical aspects. So in case you have any issues, you can chat with him. Agroecology, the European Partnership on Accelerating Farm and Systems Transition, Agroecology Living Labs and Research Infrastructures is a collaborative research and innovation initiative involving the European Commission and 31 member states, also associated countries and third countries with a total of 111 partners. These conversations on agroecology are among the initial steps to enhance agricultural knowledge and innovation systems, 𝗧𝗵𝗲, for the agroecological transition. The conversations aim to foster connections between living labs and research infrastructure actors throughout Europe. Tara, next slide, please. And in our monthly discussions, we will continue throughout the partnership until the end of 2033 with promoting the engagement and networking of agroecology stakeholders across Europe. And in 26, we will have the conversations emphasizing the 13 principles of agroecology. And today's talk will be related to the principle of biodiversity. And since last month, the conversations on agroecology have now a community of practice group, which is available at the Agroecology TPP Communities platform. And this community is designed not only to keep you updated on our upcoming conversations, but most importantly, to give you a space to connect, get in contact with fellow members, exchange ideas, ask questions, and share your knowledge. So we also now have created a dedicated forum for each conversation where you can discuss and share your thoughts on the conversation even after the event. You can see here how it looks. It's a little bit similar to maybe a LinkedIn or Facebook post. And after you register, you can connect here with other participants and discuss on the conversation. And through this link, you can access the group. We will also post it in the chat and join it by creating an account. And once you are a member, please make a post introducing yourself in our group and share what you hope to gain from the community of practice. And in case you have any technical issues, you can always contact me. And also my colleague Polixeni Nicolaou, she's also part of the partnership and our task. She's our community manager and she can help you as well. So today we're going to have two presentations as always. The first one will be by Suzanne Lefebvre from the Farmland Biodiversity Observatory. And she will talk about the observatory and how participatory science can help to monitor biodiversity on farmland. And our second presentation will be given by João Coimbra from Quinta da Cholda, a regenerative farm in Portugal. And it's about regenerative agriculture for sustainable intensification, integrating biodiversity for resilient systems. And also, as always, after these two talks, we will have the opportunity to discuss together. And before we start, shortly the conversation play rules. To ensure a good technical quality, please keep your microphones muted unless you're speaking and your camera closed when your connection is not well. And if you want to speak up, please do so. And you can also use the chat if you don't want to talk into the microphone. And we respect everyone's opinions and keep our questions short and simple, so it's easier for the speakers to respond. And comments and ideas are also very important and very welcomed. And as you saw, this conversation is recording. I will be recorded. And now I want to quickly ask if anybody has any objections to that. Okay, looks good. I think we can start now. So without further ado, I would like to hand the floor to Suzanne. Suzanne, you can start now.
Hi, thank you for the introduction. So I'll share my slides. Can everyone see?
Yes, looks great.
So I'm Suzanne Lefebvre from the Natural History Museum in Paris. And yeah, I'm going to talk to you today about the Farmland Biodiversity Observatory. So it's a participatory science program to monitor biodiversity on farmland. Yeah, so basically the program is 5 protocols to observe biodiversity on farmland. It was started in 2011. It's funded by the Ministry of Agriculture, so it's like a national program, like funded by the state. And protocols were originally designed by researchers and tested with farmers and partners on the ground to make sure that everything runs smoothly, that they work for everyone. And I don't know if you know a bit about participatory science, but basically the whole point of it is that data can be collected by anyone who is not a scientist. So the goal here is that anyone can go and observe bees, for example, and then collect the data using the protocols that we propose. It all goes into a database and then it gets analyzed by researchers. And so we have like these kind of 3 goals that are like scientific, educational, and political. Scientific because we produce a lot of data, and the goal is to monitor biodiversity on farmland, link it to agricultural practices. It was really set up to respond to a lack of biodiversity indicators on farmland at a national level. But there's also a whole educational side to it where participants learn to observe biodiversity, but farmers also learn to interact with farmers and learn what farmers' needs are. And then there's a whole kind of political side to it where, well, first of all, we're funded by the Ministry of Agriculture. We're part of like a national strategy for nature, and there's this whole idea that we're going to produce indicators that will inform political decisions. Just to give a bit of an overview, we monitor approximately 500 fields a year. It's not always the same fields, there's quite a turnover. So fields, I mean like farmland fields, farmed fields. It's more than 4,000 fields sampled since 2011. So we have almost 15 years of data covering all of France, or at least metropolitan France. I'm just going to describe to you 2 protocols so that you can just understand a bit more concretely what I'm talking about. So one of the protocols that we have is to monitor wild bees and more specifically solitary bees. So the idea is that you put 2 nests on the side of a field, like in a field margin. Anyone can build the nests. You just buy the tubes in a specific website, and then you tape them together. You put them in a plastic bottle, just so that they're not out in the rain. You place them next to each other, and then once a month you come and you have a look at whether these tubes are occupied by bees, whether they've nested in it. So we don't record actually exactly which species of bees we've seen on the side of the field, but we look at how these tubes are filled. So is it petals? Is it cut leaves? Is it soil? And that kind of gives us an idea of the diversities of solitary bees that we might have in the area. We have the butterfly transect protocol, where the idea is to walk for 10 minutes on the side of a field and to record all the butterflies that fly within a theoretical box of 5 meters by 5 meters by 5 meters. So this protocol kind of requires a bit of learning because you have to learn how to identify butterflies while they're flying because we don't catch them. And also there are certain conditions to respect, such as the temperature, the wind, the cloud cover, etc. This is just to ensure that we have like coherent data between everyone. Yeah, I want to talk about how the program works, like how it really is implemented. So basically, there's like a whole national level where there's national coordinators, so mainly me at the Natural History Museum, with the funding of the Ministry of Agriculture and the support of the National Agricultural Chamber, which is a kind of semi-public organization that supports farmers throughout France. So there are agricultural chambers in each county, and then there's an agricultural chamber in each region, and then there's one at the national level. So we kind of coordinate the program at the national level. But the people who really implement it, who actually do the protocols and go in the field and look at butterflies, for example, that's mostly farmers and local network leaders. So the program is really organized in local networks. So each local network will have their own objectives and will use the FBO within their work. And so it'll be someone who is already in touch with a group of farmers. So, for example, a farming advisor who already works with 10 farmers will come to these farmers and say, "Hey, do you want to do the FBO?" And then they'll kind of do it together. There are farmers who do it on their own, but it is, I would say, marginal. So yeah, so that's really how the program is kind of stratified. It has, like, when I was talking to you about the goals and the scientific goal, we kind of have already reached some of that. So the program in a way works in the sense that we can produce scientific data that is that can be used in ecology studies. So there was 𝗬𝗶𝗶𝗃𝗏 who did his thesis with the data from the FBO in 2021, and he showed that he showed a decline in most taxa observed, monitored by the FBO, and he showed a link as well with agricultural practices. So here, pesticides and mineral fertilization. I was told to mainly focus on drivers and buyers. So this is why I was a bit quick in kind of the introduction, but we'll kind of continue talking about the program through this. So I would say one of like the first drivers to like why this program works is the long-term funding and support from the Ministry of Agriculture. It really is crucial because it funds my job, which is crucial for the program. If there's nobody actually running the program at a national scale, it kind of falls apart. But then the funding can also be seen as a barrier, I think, like everywhere, really. Partly because here we offer participatory science in a professional setting. So we ask farmers to go and observe biodiversity for free as like a voluntary thing. But they'll do it during their work. It's in a working environment. And even for network leaders, they will often be network leaders. They will have this network of farmers as part of their job. So it'll be someone who is maybe in an environmental non-profit whose job is to link agriculture with biodiversity. They're being paid for that, and so they're going to embed the FBO within that work. So that always creates a bit of friction because then often they do need local funding to run the FBO, and local funding is not easy to find. It can be short-term. I think most people know about this. It's quite a widespread problem. Then I think one of the drivers as well of this program is the database, because it really is a powerful database for research. We couldn't have all this data if it wasn't for participatory science. Like we monitor, like I told you, around 500 fields a year, and the idea is to link it with agricultural practices. So we have data on the butterflies, for example, that they've observed on the side of the field, but we also have data on what pesticides they have spread when on their field and in which quantity. So it's really that database that's quite precious, but it also comes with issues. So participatory science has kind of inherently like issues with the data. There's like biases, there's missing data. So for example, not enough people to my liking actually tell us which pesticide they put when and how much they put. So we have a lot of missing data. We also have mostly we don't have data to the species level. So when I was talking to you about the bees, we don't actually look at the bees. We look at what nests we observe. Even for butterflies, a lot of the butterflies are grouped into morphological groups because it's just too difficult to identify each species. It's maybe just the bats that we actually go down to the species level. And then we also have discontinuity in the database infrastructure. So we changed websites, which also made us change database, and there's kind of, it started with just Excel files at the very beginning, and so all this kind of discontinuity in the databases have created a really messy database that we are now in the process of cleaning up completely so that it will be much easier to use for research. And then finally, I think to me, the main driver is local networks and facilitators, because without them, there's nothing happening. They're really the people actually implementing the program on the ground. And the strength there is that they use the FBO as a tool to foster conversations and learning. So I'll develop that a bit later on. But it comes with difficulties as well, because the program wasn't built for local results. It was built for national results, for national research. So it can present barriers at the local scale, because they're going to want to use the data in a very specific way. So it kind of leads me into this, where I just want to explain to you, for example, that the view of a local network leader, they're going to come to their farmers and they have to offer them something. And so usually their idea is that they're going to be able to use the FBO to produce biodiversity indicators at a local scale. They're going to be able to advise farmers on biodiversity friendly practices based on the data that they have recorded. They want to prove beneficial practices. So if they have a field where they've planted a hedge, they want to be able to see that they will see more biodiversity than on the field where they haven't planted a hedge, basically. Problem is that we can't do that with our protocols at a local scale. The strength of these protocols really resides in the fact that they're implemented at a large scale and over a long period of time. So at the local level, there's just not enough field samples, like it just doesn't work. So they come up with new goals, and mainly they use the FBO to propose a new approach to biodiversity to farmers, and to foster discussions. And so this is where I think the FBO is really interesting, is that it brings people together around observing biodiversity. So when I'm talking about local facilitators, they can be very different people. They can be people from agricultural chambers who will be like farming advisors. They can be naturalists from environmental associations, for example. They can be hunting associations. They can be local councils. And basically all of these actors come together to implement the FBO together on the ground. And so that's kind of like at the local scale, like all these actors come together, but even at different scales, all these actors come together. So if we look at research, for example, researchers come in touch with farmers and local facilitators, and then they start to see biodiversity kind of in a scientific way. They start to question how science is produced, how research is made. And I just want to finish with this one quote that like kind of illustrate this. It was from the former national coordinator of the FBO, and he was at a meeting with the Ministry of Agriculture and also the people from the Ministry of the Environment and a lot of naturalists. So these people can be quite skeptical of the Ministry of Agriculture. And then suddenly they were like all in this room together around the FBO. And so the national coordinator said there were about 50 people in front of us, and they were all naturalists. None of them had any background in agriculture. And there we were representing a scheme from the Ministry of Agriculture. They were surprised that representatives of what is often seen from a distance as the big bad wolves were talking about a scheme that actually focused on biodiversity. Well, they were astonished. Not only did they not reject us, they welcomed us with open arms. So yeah, I just think this quote shows how people who are not necessarily in touch or skeptical of each other can suddenly all come together around the observation of biodiversity. That's the end of my presentation. So I'm excited for the discussion later, but I'm going to stop sharing my slides, right?
Yeah, great. Thank you, Suzanne. It was a beautiful talk. I already wrote down like a big list of questions I can hopefully ask. Great.
Just hope I wasn't too quick. Sorry.
No, perfect timing as well. Thank you so much for that. So without further ado, I would also like to ask João to start his presentation. He's from Quinta da Cholda farm and yeah, will show us his farm.
Hello. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, it's loading now. Yes. I can see it.
Hello?
Yes.
Great, perfect.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's go. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. I'm a farmer in our Quinta da Cholda near the Central Valley of Portugal. We're trying to maintain like a farmers because it's very difficult. It's low price of our inputs, and we're trying to maintain the family business in the sixth generation we have it now. Because in the past, my grandfather and grandfather began this work, and now we are 10 brothers for the owner of the farms. Now we have our child and the grandchilds, and we hope to try to work for them for the future for farming. So we have in operation some farms in the Central Valley. We are near Lisbon, a little bit in the north. We are a big valley, a good valley of good lands with water. And we have grain producer, corn in irrigating areas, and in the forests, in the mountains, we are cork, eucalyptus, and pines. Here we work 17 full-time jobs. We produce corn for 2.5 days of needs of Portugal, and some 15 minutes a year for electricity needs of Portugal. We produce photovoltaic for all necessity, and we are selling some electricity to the grid. Like all farmers are the same challenge, more food need, more meat, and climate change. We are more and more accurate to try to understand what is the climate in the future, how we can work in open fields with the different climate every year. And now we begin to regeneration a system to try. I'm not organic. I'm a conventional farm. We produce in conventional way, but we try introducing all the capacity to maintain the profit for the farm, maintain the revenue for my brothers, and at the same time to change some issues. And now the regenerative is our way. Because the problem in Europe, in the world, the price is decreasing all the years, and the farmer has the same problem every site. Less and less price for our products, a lot of costs. Crisis begins to up the price of our inputs, and now it's more and more difficult every year. So we try to increase the profitability. But what we see is we sell it more and more, but the revenues, the margins is low, is near to zero in all over the world. This is in Canada. And our solution is produce more and more, but with less, not with high price, because nobody wants to pay more, but with less expensive. And we try to use it a lot of precision agriculture to see where I gain money, where I lose money. When I see I lose money with precision agriculture, I make more and more areas with non-productivity areas because I lose money in these areas. So these areas are converted to areas to support biodiversity, not only for the beauty of the biodiversity, but for help me to reducing costs, for help me to have less and less impact from the disease, from the insects, and so. And now reducing emission is reducing energy. Escape for fossil fuel is reducing our cost price, because it's more and more difficult, because so energy is so expensive, spending more and more money in this kind of energy, we're reducing our margin. So smart farming is to reducing costs, to reducing energy, to reducing emissions. So precision management is our big goal. Not only precision agriculture, but precision management. All things are important to understand very well what's happening in the fields, what's happening in the zones of non-agriculture, understand the biodiversity, monitoring the biodiversity, what's happened with all data we have, with digitalization of all decisions. We mark all the energy or the inputs, or the number of species we have in our environment, in our biodiversity zones. And now we measure the biodiversity in the field, in the corn zones, because sustainability for us is not only in the border of the corn, in the border of the zone of we farm. Now we must increase the biodiversity inside the corn zones and in the soil. So we try to understand very well, this is possible to increase biodiversity in the same time producing high yield, because here in Portugal, our zones, they produce high yield in corn productivity, the double of France, the triple of for Argentina or Brazil, because here we have a good climate, a good soil, and you have water. We are irrigating the zones and we can produce a lot. But it's possible to produce in this kind of productivity without damage the soil, damage the environment, and all the biodiversity around us. What we do is to invite NGOs with us to see our survey, our project, to have more and more practice to increase biodiversity but maintain productivity. And now we are in the 15 years around, and now in 21 we change our regenerative ways, and we more and more attention to this kind of approach, to spending more time study and see what's happened. We increase a lot of areas of conservation area. The green is corn, and the brown is more, and in the colors is street bands and zone refuge zones. We are not till areas all feel less with any kind of disturbing, and all product farmers are some spots in this farm to receive less and less disturbance. So we produce more and more edge in the fields, because in the past we have clean zones, this is open area, and now we increase the green zone. We see they are, in the past, they are farming zones, and now they are converted into strip bands and some spots to avoid tillage and put it fertilizer and chemicals. We plant all the farm zones. We have possibility to put more trees and shrubs to increase more zones for biodiversity, for birds. We make some corners of our pivots. The pivots is a round system of irrigation. Now we are producing more and more zones with shrubs, with the biodiversity, autochthonous trees and shrubs, to put it more and more zones near the corn, to have more predators, to have more zones with refuge. These zones, in the past, we can put it into farming, and now we produce this kind of zones near the fields to put it less and less disturbance in these areas to recover some spots for biodiversity. This creating condition is our goal, not have only zones to conservation area, but understand to increase pollinator, we can measure. We measure with bees, we introducing pH to indicate the status of the crop. For example, we measure the quantity of chemicals we use it in the honey. We put it every year honey in the laboratory to see it happen. And now a lot of things you know very well to increase refuge, salt and baths. We're trying to use less and less equipment, low price equipment because it's free for me. Nobody pays me for that. And I want to do that with low price and to convince other farmers and my neighbors to have more and more this kind of approach. Because they understand if you use less chemicals, we use less money, is more margin. And now with regenerative strategy, we introduce this kind of problems with the soil. The healthy soil for us is a soil more biodiverse, less disturbance, and we understand very well the principles to reducing disturbance, reducing tillage, reducing appliance of chemicals and synthetics, nitrogen, and leaving roots all the years. This is more important to understand because farmers don't understand this inside this soil, and it's very important to understand this soil food web. They improve our soil that we can reducing fertilizers. The cover crop is for us the best way to put carbon in the soil, putting more biodiversity, more life, and we can introduce more sugar in the soil and have more and more life and less needs of inputs. More biodiversity, we must know it is not only natural biodiversity is introducing. So we must choose the species to see if possible to increase more the biodiversity with this. This is yesterday I filming for our meeting today. This is near the corn. Then this is refuge zones. Now with no intervention, we have trees and shrubs and grasses, natural grasses. Can have the bees are inside, and we are producing studies about how many costs I can reduce in my corn with this kind of area. For example, here is 3 hectares without tillage, without farming. We lose money here. No, we don't lose, because in the past I lose money here. It's a rock zones. The field are a lot of rocks. So now with the regenerative approach, we use the corn in the side of the cover crop. We don't till it. We use it only strip till, and now the corn are born, and the cover crop maintains. And it's very good for birds, for nidification, for seed. There are a lot of seeds for birds and so. Now we have a lot of teams. They measure our biodiversity by DNA sequestration and by counting. Every year we counting some 5 or 6 families different of insects, mammals, reptiles, etc. And now we're trying to study our native soil, because we understand in the past we multiply biology to introduce in our soil good biology living bacteria for recover phosphorus and nitrogen. And now we understand our native soil are very interesting. And now we begin to replicate this native soil in our bioreactors. It's low price. We can try to do it ourselves, making composts, retiring native soil and multiplying. And after that, we apply in the seeder and in the inoculation of the soil. We are direct seeds, and now we put this water with life biology, with native soil, without disturbance in the last years, in the border of the fields, in the mountains, in the forest. We bring to the field for the corn this biology in liquid forms. Now is some illustration of our activity. We turn more and more heterones, biodiversity indicators to see out. We receive a lot of people, studies, and students. We have a lot of trainings, and we use it now to prepare to use more other crops without corn. For example, fava beans here with no till, with no chemicals, and we recover some old productivity zones from beans, from fava beans, etc. We try to reducing the number of years with only for corn. And we have the cover crop in the winter, in the spring, and in the summer we try to use it new crops, but it's not the mainstream. So in the forest we do the same. We see here we inoculated biology, soil biology for good soil, good zones. And after that, you put organic matter and you seeds crop in the crop in the forest. Because here in Portugal we have a lot of problems with the forest. They are sick with the climate change and they die, the trees, and we try to recover the crop, the forest. So it's important for us because we have the problem of the fires and you have a problem of the climate change with more hot and less water. And so we try to introduce more organic matter to capture the water from the winter to maintain in the summer. And because of that, in our crop zones, in the corn, we're reducing the diesel in the last 4 years, and we reduce fertilizer. We try to gain more and more money because we cut a lot of costs. And like you know, this year with the war, the price of the fertilizer is skyrockets, no? So it's good to see it's possible to produce without so many fertilizer. We use it, the same productivity in our fields is good. We lost 5% in the last year, but it's very good for us because the margin is increasing. And for us, the margin is important, not the yields. So the challenge is attracting young generation. This is a lot of students. They come here to training with us, with our employers and us, to receive more and more information about this. And this is our new employers, is our STEM team to use more and more this kind of people than the workers, traditional workers, because they don't have union, they don't have salary, and they work every day. And now the mushrooms, they can open to help us. So thank you, and I invite you to see our farms. You are in the social networking and the social media. You have a lot of projects in the area. So thank you, and come here to visit us. I have like to see here. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, João. You made me smile a lot towards the end as well with all the free workers that help you. And it's incredible how much you are doing. It's just the list just didn't stop, and I know it's only a part of what else is implemented at your farm. So it's extremely impressive, and I learned a lot already. So with this, we can start our discussion. Anna will be moderating. Oh, sorry, not Anna. Carla will be moderating today. And yeah, feel free to raise your hand if you would like to ask a question in person, or you can also just type it in the chat. Some of you already did. So yeah, Is there anybody who would like to ask a question in person? Tao, I just see that the presentation mode is not correct.
João wants to put a question.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot for the very interesting presentations. I have a question for João, and it would be, do you have already observations about positive or negative influences of these biodiversity measures on the production? Let's say like beneficial insects, or maybe on the contrary, are there some places where pests are getting stronger because of because of reservoir areas for them? Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah.
Can I go? So
Yes.
yes, it's very, very interesting because we see a lot of reducing of need of insecticides. In the past, I used insecticides in preventing mold because I have a lot of insects in the not in the adult plants, but the young plants. It's very dangerous to maintain the smallest plants because we have a lot of insects, Noctidius and 𝗬𝗵𝗄, they are an insect, a lepidopter. So with this approach, we're reducing, and this last year is the first year without any kind of insecticides. So we have some attacks, but we increase the level of attack. We reducing the application of insecticides because we're trying to reducing the number of application. In the past, in 600 hectares of corn, we use it only in the 60 hectares of big attack because this is a non-tilled area, is more in biomass, a lot of biomass near the corn, and they have a lot of snails and I don't know the other ones. And after that, they are the weak plants are slowly because they lose these leaves. And after that, we have attack of lepidops. So I put it insecticide in 60 hectares, but it's only 10%. It is 1 year. This year, I'm in the center of the seeding. We don't have insects, and my neighbors are a lot of insects now because this year are a very rainy year. We have more life in the fields and more insects. And maintain the cover crop near the plants. We spread the insects. You don't go directly only in the corn because the eggs are put it in different species. So I think it's quantifiable. It's possible to quantify the reducing of need of insecticide. For us, it's very important because we don't use fungicides now because we put it more sugars in the plants. We want to increase the sugars in the plants with our appliance, with some biology and some molasses. We use it near the seeds to increase the sugar in the plants. And one plant with sugar is not attracting insects because the healthy plants don't have attracting the insects. So we can reduce, I think, to 0 in the few years.
So I think we have also the 2 questions for Suzanne. So in the chat, one is if you can share the work protocols for biodiversity.
Yes.
Yes, it's possible.
No, wait, they're all in French.
French.
It is quickly.
They're in French, but I can have a look if they are described in some of 𝗧𝗵𝗶 articles.
And other question is that you said that different fields were observed and that they changed over the years. And was this considered for the evaluation of the amount of insects since you said there was a decrease in the number. So you can conclude that is a decrease if you don't have the same fields in the
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what you mean by the decrease in the number. You're talking about decrease in numbers of fields or insects. Either way, I think all the data was taken. So not only fields that were monitored from the beginning to the end. And I imagine that like he took that into account in his studies. I know that there are ways to take that into account in the statistical analysis, but yeah, it's definitely a bias. It is definitely a bias. There isn't a decrease in the number of fields monitored. But yeah, they definitely found a decrease in the number of butterflies, for example, observed in each field.
Okay. Other question is if you observe any differences in biodiversity between different farming systems, such as between organic and conventional fields.
So I don't remember seeing that in his thesis, but I know that we have. I mean, I have explored the data and I do see differences, but I haven't actually done any robust statistical analysis on that.
And what policy conclusions have been or are being drawn from the results? I have another other question from my side. And what are the next steps for scaling up this initiative? Did you have any program for scaling up and to also to create openly and shared data accessible for other stakeholders? It's possible to scaling this initiative?
So for the first question about political conclusions, I don't think he made any political conclusions from it. I think it was mainly that he saw correlations, and his main conclusions were about how to improve the FBO and how to make it more robust. So that's kind of for like Olivier's view of research. For the next step, kind of that is a next step. That is something that I would love for the FBO to be able to do, to use all this data to come up with political recommendations. And that's also why we're currently cleaning up the database. So the database is accessible. We can absolutely send it to anyone who wants it. But at the minute, it is a bit of a mess. So it's complicated to use, I would say. It's usable for sure. Like Olivier used it in his research, so it is doable for sure. But I would say it's a bit complex and it has some issues, and so that's why we're cleaning up the data so that it will then we're gonna, so basically the next steps are clean up the data, publish a data paper, and make it more available to research. Yeah, that's it. Then we also have like other protocols coming up. So like some farmers were frustrated with the pollinators protocols, and so they came up with a new one, and so I'm reviewing it. So we're proposing to them a new protocol now based on what they came up with. So this is also where like it's kind of a collaborative work. So that's also a new project that I'm working on. Yeah.
Okay, so we have Donald that already wants to put a question. Please, Donald. You are mute.
Yeah, sorry for that. It's a question for two questions really for I'm problem with pronouncing your name, Joe. Can I call you Joe?
João.
João, yeah. João. Yes, the question is, how does the size of your farm I must say the presentation, first of all, was excellent. It's really, really an interesting insight into Portugal, which I'm not familiar with. But the question is, how does the scale of your operation, the size of your farm business, compare with other farms around you? And the second part of the question is, how has that scale been helpful to your efforts to bring biodiversity onto the crop landscape?
All right. So here to business, the forest size, the forest zones to 2,000 hectares with crops only in the valley, and in the crops we are 700 hectares here, and this is the medium, because the medium is normally 10, 50 hectares, 50, 14. They are small farmers, they are medium farmers, and there are some farms like us, because I don't cut in the next generation. Our neighbors, they cut when he died. They give him his sons. My grandfather and my father, and my brothers, we use it the same land. We buy some land, and now we are a little bit more a big size than the medium, because here in Portugal the north are very, very, very small, and in the south of Portugal, in non-irrigated zones, they are big farms. But here in the valley, normally there are small farmers, and this is a challenge for us to convince my neighbors to increase the area we have biodiversity works. And now I do some jobs to invite my neighbors and to do the same thing I'm doing, simply only in the borders, only in the spots they maintain conventional with chemicals like me, but we try to make some. For example, we have invasors, some invasor weeds. They come with the trucks with the corn from Argentina and the US, and so we have some weeds. They are a problem. We use a lot in herbicides because of them, not for our native weeds. That's one don't have so big problems. We have big problems with foreign and introducing weeds, and we try with us to cutting all the weeds near here to make a spot for example, 2,000 hectares in farming system, and it's possible to begin to make some approach for them to understand, because someone are very old men and they don't have so many time to do and they are small farms. They want to steal everything, and I ask him, let something area with no tillage, only no work together, because we have in the past we have set aside. We understand set aside in the Europe, the CAP. But now the set aside is stopped here because these small farms don't need it to make the set aside. So we try to introduce the idea is better for them to don't tillage all the spots. You don't produce corn, for example. In the past, my neighbors tillage all the area. The zones is seed and irrigated, and the zones you don't have irrigation, for example, they tilled again. But you don't produce anything. And I try to explain, don't till it. Don't have these kind of costs. Reducing costs, let the grass, let the weeds, because the farms are very afraid from the weeds, because they think they're reproducing and they go to the fields, farming zones. But I explain native grass, for example, they are less and less dangerous for the crops. The foreigners' weeds are the problems they are introducing without, it's not natural. So I think it's possible to increase programs like this with no money. I don't pay for it. I explain, I don't use insecticide this year. I use it 20,000 euros by year by insecticide. Now this is money for me, it's for biodiversity, plus of studies or some programs. And it's possible to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Hello?
We have another question for Suzanne, and is that you mentioned below the reference that you have put in the slide about the legitimacy of open science knowledge. Do you know any study providing evidence of that? The impacts of such open science projects on biodiversity health and of learning by actors involved in these open science projects. So the question is related with the evidence of open science projects.
Just responded in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want me to go over it or if we leave it like that.
Thanks a lot, and I've got the reference. Thanks.
Okay, so I have one last question for João Coimbra, and is about the cover crops. How can you explain what is your experience with these last harvests with the cover crops, and also the management of the residues in the fields, and how you manage that?
All right, this is a big challenge because we have a lot of biomass. Here in Portugal, you have rainy and weather is good, good temperature for wheats and for this species of cover crop. For example, for you understand, the best site I produce 40 tons of organic matter, dry matter, not green matter. This is 300 tons of green matter. This is a wood of wheats in the spring. So we must do something different. Now we approach to cutting the cover crop in the winter, in the February, March, and they rebrought again because we need more sugar in the root zones. So we cutting like we simulating the animals in the prairie. The animals normally they hit quickly a grass, and the grass rebrought, and they put it more sugar in the exudates from the soil. So we try to use the same situation in the prairie with cows or animals. They hit some grass in the winter, and I think it's better for us because we are now with less biomass questions, because in the last years we had big problems to can seed the corn and to emerge the corn in the same a lot of biomass. And like you see in this film, I put it now the cover crop is open and is a little bit in not all in near the mulching zones because it's too much, and they are open to the corn can grow with problems. But we are learning because we must adapt the machinery to this question because it's too much, and the farmers don't have practice to this kind of approach. But because of that, we receive a lot of farmers to telling how it's possible with the same machinery adapt, and they have some kind of this situation. We can cutting a little bit with a small machine, and it's easily to seeding again with the conventional seeders.
Thank you. So we have a question about
Carla, we need to stop, unfortunately.
Website.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's already 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, the time flies every time. Yeah. Okay, so I'll wrap it up quickly. I want to thank you very much for your active participation in discussing biodiversity. And a big thank you to both of our speakers for their excellent contributions. I also want to thank the whole 𝗧𝗵𝗲 group and the Argus team for organizing. And of course, all of you for being here. Thank you so much. Without you, these conversations would not be possible. The next conversation will be held, as always, on the last Wednesday of each month, the 27th of May, and we will cover the principle of synergy. We will have the speaker 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗙𝗵𝗃 from 𝗓𝗃 in Spain, and also Björn Steinmetz and Natasha Lenzer, who are the founders of 𝗧𝗵𝗃 𝗙𝗶𝗃𝗃𝗁 farm in Kenya. If you have any ideas, topics for upcoming conversations, please do not hesitate to let us know via mail or in our community platform. And yeah, we'll see each other next month, hopefully. Thank you so much for being here.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.